just doing what individual doors. Draw centre line in, which is what I've done. That line there, and then work your way back in from either side with your 1/4 inches, and then just cut it off, draw them in, and then cut the doors down in the middle, so you have 2 doors which you're not going to join together because they're on the same piece. I've made them just slightly smaller, so where the actual gap is 6 inches wide, I've made the doors just slightly under. So they're like a 1/16 overall under, so you know they're going to go in and they're going to fit. And obviously the bottom, where we've cut that off, you've got the base of the track height and then the rails itself to cut off as well, so the arc will be shorter. And then all I've got to do now is join up the lines in between. This is the outside of the door, and we'll flip it over and do the same thing on both sides, and then I'll strengthen the door by putting battens across with the Z-shaped things just to make it look like a door, and they'll be on the inside. And of course we're going to have the door that open. So I find it easier just to mark everything out right from the off.
So we'll leave you to carry on to do that then.
Right, all I'm doing now is scribing the planks in all the way down. Right, so I've scribed them in so you can see where the planks are. Now I'm just going to cut them out. So I've scribed that in when I did this top bit with my scriber. Follow it around with a knife gently. All the way around. There's one, and then find your centre one among them, which is that one, and there's that one, and that's your first sides of the doors. So we've cut them out next, so I'm going to do the other sides, and then what I'll do is I'll turn them over and copy them lines back in, and then I'll start doing the battens across. We do another thing with these doors, which I will show you. We like to, if you want to be a wood graining, I don't know if you want to do it on this wood graining, do you?
No, I think actually, Steve, I'll sand it in with a rough sandpaper.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, you can draw thin lines on it. You want the wood to stand out, and then when you paint it, you'll see them lines.
That's a good technique for floorboards, but for the doors, if I do it with a real stiff or real coarse emery paper, I can put the lines in just as good. I think it suits doors better that way.
So, there's our second pair. And again down the middle. As you can see, the middle one is slightly narrower, purely because I brought these doors in a little bit. I didn't want them to be absolutely tight fit in the actual building, so I've just brought them in just that touch, so it makes them look a bit better. And that's the first part. And the answer now is just to go on to the other side, mark them all off, and then draw them again. So I shall carry on and do that bit. The good thing to do is just mark which door's which. A, B, and B. Otherwise, you'll get a pair what don't match. It's just measuring, obviously, when we put the doors in, it will go right to the floor. So what we've got to do now is measure our track height, which is the track what will come across, and take that much off. Probably give it a little bit of clearance, and then you can see that when you shut the doors they'll cover it. So we're looking at the height of the track. Let's get a little ruler. When you look in there, you've got 3/4 of an inch in my thingy, or 75 mil in metric. So if I cut that off the bottom of the door, plus a little bit because you don't want it catching if we're going to make them so the hinge, we'll mark that off and then cut off both doors, and then we can start putting the battens on. Right, so this is the back of the doors. This is the first set we're doing to do. So what I've done is marked out where I want to put my planks across. So I'm literally going to measure a piece out. I did these at 3/8. Just literally put some 3/8 strip out with a bit of waste. Take one off. I've got super glue in that one, yep. Bit of super glue down the middle, and pop that one on like so. That's the first piece, and then the next one exactly the same. Just mark it off. You could be a little, you know, you don't want to be overlapping on this because it causes yourselves more problems if you go beyond the edges. So if it's a little bit tiny fraction short, it not critical. Again, pop one on there like so, and finally that one. Again, that's that one. Pop that one on like so. That's it. That's the inside of one door, and then what we'll do then is we'll mark that like so, and you just got them big enough. So get it in as nice and neat as you can, then draw that line down there. Chop that one off first, like so. Push it onto there. Mark it on this one. Mark it on that. Drop it in there. And then we glue that one in. So that one's, put a little dab on each end if you wanted. Down the middle. Drop it in there, drop it on there. A little bit of sandpaper. I don't find
paper in your case.
Emery paper, yeah, I don't like sandpaper. And with you putting a bit of super glue on each end, when you rub this in, your joints is not as good as it should be, or it's slightly out, because there's a bit of glue in there. When you rub it, it fills that little joint in as well. So then the next part is exactly the same again. Now you can either do it that way, which I think is the right way, or if you wanted to do it that, which I think is the wrong way. But I'm sure they go like that. So again, get it lined up so you know where it is. Draw yourself a line so you can see it.
The good shed that you're making then, that where the wagons go, the engine goes through, are they quite common?
They are on full grid size railways. Well, there was in the, good sheds was massively popular as a form of track when they had everything was taken by trains. So yes, they are common, but not particularly on narrow gauge. The Linton and Barnstable, which my railway is based upon, had good shed at Linton, the Linton end of it. It had a platform at the Barnstable end and a couple of bits in the middle which had sheds and units where they could store stuff. So yes, they did have them on barn, and they had a beautiful what you call it, good shed on the Linton and Barnstable. It was absolutely huge, massive. On the Welsh ones you might not have seen them so much. They generally
so they're more like the other good shed that over.
Well, then we've made out there literally just our variation. But on the narrow gauge railways, they didn't tend to have good sheds as such. They would just take it off in the station buildings, and just go straight into the stations. There'd be a room built onto the station unit, or they'd just go straight into a wagon and away, or they'd leave it in a wagon and take it straight off there onto whoever's truck it was destined to go to. They'd probably arrange to meet the train at the station. But we all have our different variations in railways. Man, I do love plain trains, so I like to shunt trains up and down. I like to deliver goods, and I like to somewhere to deliver the goods too. So there's our door, simply made.
Moving on to the doors. I've already prepared these ones for the first coat, and what I did initially from when we first did it was sand it down with a rough emery paper, and that puts the grains in on both sides, and go with your grains across that way and that way and that way, and it follows suit. And then what I did after that, I just got this little tool that I use. It's ice cake for icing cakes, and I just run them along, and that just opens up the planks. And then the first coat I put on is a very weak raw umber, so that's dried now. So what I'm going to do now to add a bit more texture is I've got raw umber again, but it's a little bit thicker this time. And what I'll do is, I don't want an even colour, I just want it to finish. So I'm quite happy for some parts to be left as if they've been bleached by the sun. And what I'll do is just gradually build up the woodwork. I'm not going to paint the doors a colour because I like to see them in wood. So I'm going to go and do that, just gradually building up from the bottom. Don't matter if some bits are darker than others, that's what wood's like, especially old wood where it's been bleached over the years and oil spilt on and God knows what else. So I'm going to turn it over and do the other side. It's quite a quick process. Just make sure you don't get the paint too thick, because I want it to go on reasonably thin, but not as thin as the first coat. If it's too thick, just add a little drop of water. So I'm going to up that way, across there. Don't forget the tops. I'm not finished with these yet, there's still another coat to put on. They're in there. So now we're just brushing up and down. And on to the next. Just a little bit thinner. You see there maybe that there's actually marks going across where the sanding, where I went a bit vigorous with the sanding, but I'm not bothered. All the marks left by things like that all adds to the age of the wood and just gives it a bit more credibility. So just this bottom bit to do now. Don't forget the edges. I've got the fire on in the workshop today, so these will dry pretty quickly. I've got my gloves on because I'm a messy worker. Tops. Because don't know why I'm doing underneath, but just feels like I ought to. Just make sure I've got all little bits covered. So we'll leave that to dry now, and then we'll move on to the next thing, which will be adding a bit of black in just to make the plank stand out a bit more. Okay, so that brown coat's dried, which is the second coat. So now moving on to black, which I use Mars Black, and I've just it's not quite a dry brush technique, but it's as near enough. So what I'm going to start is just gently brushing between the planks, just to make the planks stand out. And if you need any more on the brush, put it on. It doesn't even matter if you overrun, because just rub it in. And see how it's making the planks stand out. When you're happy with that, just drag it down from the top as if all the dates run on the top of the door. Okay, get a bit more black on there. And then I'm also going to do it from the bottom as well, but I'm going to go upwards with that one. Don't forget the edges. The tops. Okay, so it's looking, you know, reasonably old now. So let's do the back of the door. We do it again. We're doing the same, just dragging it down. If you think you've got too much on, just wipe it off. Don't forget to do on the tops of the planks that go across, and the edges. Again, down the planks just to highlight the planking. I suppose it's really a low light because it's dark. Draw it in from the edges. Okay, so that's the back of the door. So I look quite a lot older now, so I'm going to carry on now with the others, and hopefully I'll get them finished. So then we'll move on to putting the hinges on. Steve's made some brass hinges.
Try and show you how we'd make a straightforward little simple hinge. So what I've done is I've cut some thin strips of brass, just over, let's have a look, just under about 8mm, something like that, 4mm I should say, 4mm. We're just going to pop it in around the piece of bar, which will act as the pin for the hinge. Just hold it onto the bar, so we can just curl it round, and then bend it round like that, so it goes so far around the bar. Sorry I can't show you really with my hands because it's a bit tricky. Get out of it again, pull it right round, so you've got it more or less up round the bar. Square it up. Oops, I can't get rid of this one. That's it. And square it up on there. And then squash it down. So you've got it bent round, then nip it back in a bit further, like so. Press it. And then what we've done is we've folded that so it's round that bar, so it'll spin round. Now it is on a thin brass, we've not used anything really heavy. I don't know the exact thickness, but it's probably one of the thinnest. I'll just give a micrometer and show you what I mean. So if you do it in mils, it's a piece of thing 12.5 mil. Or is that inches? No, 34 millimeters thick it is. 0.34. So I like that, so you can see it. I'm not good with metric, I do apologise. So that's how thin it is. We're then popping them up, taking the first one we made, popping it together, drawing a line so they're all the same length. Just snip it off with a pair of snips, and that's it. That's all the little arms done. So you've got 3 either side, 3 each door. There's 4 doors, so we wanted 12. Then what I'll do is I'll just carefully round off that end and one, turn it over in my fingers, and just take the edge off the back of that one. Now obviously we have a couple of lathes so I can make the other part, but I'll show you how I did it on the lathe. You could try and make it roll in another piece and soldering it on, but this is how I'm going to do it. So there's my first part with a nice rounded edge. What I'm then going to do is divide that part, which is along there, 40 mil roughly. So if we put one there, and put the other one roughly at 2, and that is where I get me trusty little machine out. I'll do that bit. And we just keep it in a vise what we can use all the time. I'll just fasten that out vise in, and then pop this. Now the rivets want to be on the other side, so like a fool I've drawn it upside down, which is normal. So again, just mark it roughly where you think they ought to be. Divide it, that's 5/8 to me. And again, just put a little mark on, just so you can see where they are. And then pop that into a punch, so it's centered on that one, centered on that one, centered on that one. Turn it round, and that's our first part made. We've got a little bit of rivet detail so it's bolted on. I'll do all the rest, and then I'll show you how I make the other parts. Right, so there we are. We made them 3. Obviously I've got another dozen to do, another 9. And we're going to line them up so they match onto the back of these, as an inch would do. So we're going to put them on there like that. We'll obviously get the distance to where they're going to go on the wall. And the next part is to cut another couple of thin pieces of brass, probably a little bit thinner than that, something like that thickness. Make a plate like that to suit, and then I'll turn 2 little pieces up, something like an 1/8 brass, drill a hole through them, cut them off, put a pin through, put them together and just solder it on so it moves. Right, this is the hinge. I'll just get the other little parts so you can see what I made. So what I did was turn some little bushes, just made them thick enough just for it to thingy, drilled a hole to fit the bar, the actual bar what goes inside, soldered them to a little piece of this. So I popped them down, soldered this one of these on, popped the bar through onto there so we could solder that in, put the bar through, soldered this one on, then just soldered one end. You don't need to solder both ends because it's what it is. We're then going to stick those on like so. And obviously we'll set them into the doors, go into the doors properly first, sit them in there, and then once that's on and that's painted on, we'll paint them black, and as you can see that'll be fastened to the wall and they'll move. There we are, that's the good shed done. We put a small canopy on, we've put sliding doors there on the inside, we've put an open window which is a little bit of a feature. We might have somebody leaning out and just waving them off. We put some stairs on it, some steps up to the thingy with a little brass rail on. We've got our door, we've put doors on which Pat insisted she wanted them to open, so we've made some little hinges so we can open them as well. That's that side. This is the side that we see, is this side. So we see this part of it where they load up. The other track goes along this side. I'll spin it round a bit further for you. This is the track what's against the track, so the other track's running parallel to that. You'll probably see this in movies, we hope. That's all made up, so we'll have to make sure we film that bit so it sees it more. We've then got to carry further around. Pat's done a lovely paint job with all the greens and bits and pieces. Looks as though it's been there for centuries. And then the back view, again it all goes all the way through, and we've made it so the doors open. Again we'll probably pin them open. That one could be open to there, but the other one's there. And we come round, we put a canopy, like I said, a canopy. We've made it so we can take the roof off. We've done the roof. So inside, I don't know if you can see inside. So we'll put a few details inside as well. So we've got the obviously inch part for the sliding doors. We put the little locking bar in. We could actually put little bars on these as well to lock them. But you probably, I think the only thing we didn't put in was the door into the office, but nobody will ever see in here. This is the one and only time people will see in it, I think. And there it is, all completed. We love it. We think it's a lovely model, and we're really pleased with it.